You're listening to the Live Out Loud podcast with River Wynn and Michelle Flamer.
Hi, River.
Hi, Michelle.
I love when you mirror me. It's so funny. Um, Tell us what you've done today. It's a beautiful day on the weekend. It's Saturday for us. What's going
Yep.
on?
Yep. My little brother bought a house a block away from me, and my little brother has a 3-month-old baby. And so they're in the process of remodeling this new house before they can move in.
So
And
smart.
yeah. And so I went and got my nephew, and he spent the day at Auntie River's house, snuggling with Auntie all afternoon.
And then Auntie Michelle got a little FaceTime action.
Yeah, we FaceTime.
Oh my God, he is such a muffin.
He's the cutest little baby ever.
God, I think he definitely has your eyes. So does your brother, do you and your brother, is this the one that looks kind of like you?
We look so much alike that we were in college at the same time. He was like in his junior year when I was
Yeah.
in my senior year, and people used to think that we were twins because we look so much alike. Um,
Yeah. Because
he's
he kind
like
of
a
has your
foot
eyes.
taller
So
than me, but
yeah, he kind
uh,
of has your eyes.
yeah, we look a lot alike, very
Yeah.
similar. Yeah,
That little guy
he's
is
like the male
adorable.
version of me, but
Mm.
I'm the oldest of six, and we all look just
Aw.
alike. So yeah,
I went on a lovely hike this morning with a dear friend, and it was like magical hour.
mm,
And we looked up what the opposite of golden hour is, because golden hour typically for photographers especially, right, is
yeah,
sunset. But
yep.
we looked at, so do you know what the morning light is called?
Sunrise.
I mean, yes, you're
There a
not
special
wrong.
word for it? Like I don't know.
It's called blue hour.
Oh, I didn't realize that they called that for morning time too, because blue hour is what I know as blue hour is the after the sun has gone down and it's still there's a little bit of light. That's what I call blue hour.
Yeah, they said no, they said
Hmm.
we looked it up, it's in the morning, so it's kind of interesting.
Okay. I
I
could see
know.
that.
I call it sunrise. I mean, that's
Yeah,
how
that's what I
it
call it
is.
sunrise. Anytime I do a photo session that time of the day, it's a sunrise session. So
Totally. So today our topic is truth. Truth bombs, baby.
Ruth.
So I always have every blue moon someone says, "So why'd you create the podcast or why'd you call it Live Out Loud?"
Yeah.
And I said because we always thought that we wanted people to like live their authentic life
Yep.
and speak their truth because that goes hand in hand.
Yep.
And
100%.
I don't think we've talked about like really speak about truth. We've talked probably, it's probably been mixed in with other topics and stuff like that, but really getting to the nitty gritty. And I, um, the reason why I chose it this week, because you sometimes come up with our topics, which is great. It's like we both,
Yeah.
I know it's a reciprocal thing and we,
Yep.
mutually back and forth.
Yes.
One of us sometimes has a bigger nudge towards a topic. So it's like, okay, we'll lean towards that.
Yeah.
So I was talking to one of my dear friends, and she's in a relationship and really struggling. And I know this is, part of her trauma and how that kind of stuff shows up. And she's really struggling with how to speak her truth.
Yeah, so like in the context of this relationship or just like life in general or all of it? Because I mean, I know for me, I know for me, like in the past,
Yeah.
there were certain areas of life that I was able to speak my truth more so than others. So is it kind of for her, is it like a generalization across the board or like relationship specifically, like dating?
It's total like it is relationship specific. It's like
Okay.
it's romantic specific.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And I'm like, I said, you literally are so good at speaking your truth to me. Like, you tell
Yeah.
me everything so easily. I said, why is it that you literally lose your mind just because it's romantic?
Hmm.
And she's like, well, the fear. And I go, yeah,
Mm.
fear of what? Fear of losing the relationship. I go, and so then I said, look, you might lose it from other things. You're probably not going to lose it through speaking your honesty, through speaking your heart, through speaking your truth. I said,
Yeah.
you won't lose it from speaking your truth. Like, it'll
Well,
be other shit.
and at the end of the day, like the best relationship for you is going to be the one where you can be your most authentic self and that person's not going to even flinch at it, you know?
That's right. And well, and I know her girlfriend, and I know actually she would hold space. In fact,
Mhm.
she gets very frustrated and her avoidancy shows up when she's wishy-washy with her. And
Mm.
so her partner, I know, would hold that vulnerable space if she just led with, I'm feeling vulnerable today. I'm having a rough week. I've tried to get myself out of it, but if you have 15, I don't know if you have some time today, I would just love to like download this with you.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
literally wouldn't be an issue. Instead, she spends 3 hours trying to understand why she can't do it as opposed to just ripping the band-aid and saying whatever is on her mind in a kind way. Like, we're not out to hurt other people, but we
Yeah.
also can't caretake what someone's response is going to be. But finding a kind way to say what your heart it needs to say is, I think, important. And, you know,
I think
what
we went kind of like through a social phase too, where, you know, I would say over the last 10 years, like the concept of triggering people really became like a big thing and talked about, like our triggers. It was kind of became a so like it's a psychology concept, right?
Yeah,
But it kind of became like a social thing where people really
totally.
latched onto it. And for a while, it was like, everyone on social media was wanting us to add trigger warnings to everything, right? And then getting upset, oh, you triggered me, or, and so it kind of became this thing of like, we were overly responsible for how other people feel and respond to things. Like it was our
Yeah,
job to overly caretake other people's emotions.
yeah,
And the reality is that we are not responsible for how other people respond and how they feel at the end of the day. Like we can definitely be careful with their feelings and sensitive to it, but like at the end of the day, their feelings are theirs and we're not responsible for their triggers, you know?
right. And I think if you're in a relationship, I think it does a disservice to your partner if you're the one that is kind of having a tough time and you're withholding your actual feelings, your authentic feelings. You're doing your partner a disservice, in my opinion, not for
Huge.
not allowing them to like show up for you in that moment.
Yeah. I, as an example for me with my marriage, it was like, I couldn't show up authentically with my truth ever because anytime I would try to like share what was going on with me, he would just shut down and like couldn't even hold any space for it, couldn't show up for it at all. And in fact, it would make him upset. And then he would just shut down. We wouldn't talk for a day or two. And then it would never get resolved. It would never come back to it, you know?
So when you were talking about your feelings, I mean, he was just on the defensive in the immediate or
Immediately. It's like it could have been something as simple as like he came home from work and I'd had a hard day with the kids and he'd walk in and it could see that I was like having a hard time or feeling stressed out and he'd be like, "What's going on?" And if I were to really share how I was feeling, it would
yeah.
immediately trigger him and he would literally like physically leave the room and go to his weed smoking room and just shut himself off.
And you're like, dude, this has nothing to do with like I'm not even
Yeah.
mad at you.
And
I'm
so like
just sharing my feelings.
I couldn't even share my most basic, genuine day-to-day truth with him.
Yeah.
And then he would be really upset. And one of the things he would talk about all the time, like, and when we did a couple of therapy sessions trying before we got divorced, his narrative is like, well, you never open up to me. You don't get emotionally open with me. And it's like, dude, bruh, like you weren't giving the space for me to do that. I couldn't
Right.
share
I
my
mean,
truth with you at
it's like you're
all.
damned if you do or damned if you don't in that moment,
Exactly.
in that
Exactly.
specific relationship.
Yeah, so he was like doing our relationship a huge disservice by not even being able to step into the most basic truth sharing with me.
Yeah, it's been a huge lesson for me, with new people in my life and really just like taking the guard down and I was telling my friend too, it is a risk. Like when you have been withholding or if you've been a people pleaser, you're codependent, it even pops up in way more ways of like, I don't want to hurt this person's feelings or I don't, but really you're just expressing your own feelings around something. It's not like it's coming out of the blue. And it's not like you're trying to point fingers. I think that's what's really important for people to understand is that I rather sit in the uncomfortable of speaking my truth for maybe 10, 15 minutes than rev and cycle or, like spin on why or how, because I realize when I do hold or I don't say the thing, I sound passive aggressive.
Hmm.
I come off martyrish or
Yeah.
I come off as disingenuine. And then if I'm in a relationship or I'm, dating somebody, I mean it's still a relationship, but you're still getting to know people. Again, it's just like they're not going to want to pull like break down their walls. They're not going to because they're going to feel like wow, like I'm having to work too hard
Yeah.
or they
Yep.
may see it as too needy or too much because I'm not just getting to the thing. Like, hey, I had a crappy week. I would love, I would love to have if you would like to hold space, I'd love to like just get it off my chest. And they'll know like, oh, it has nothing to do with me. That's how I always am. Like I'm like, are you upset with me? And they're like, no, I just want to like share stuff. I'm like, oh, go for it. Like, no
Yeah.
fucking big deal. Like, but I always ask, like, because part of me is like, uh-oh, is this like, did I do something to hurt you? Did it, so I'll sometimes just say that. And they're like,
Yeah.
no, it literally has nothing to
Yeah.
do with you. And then I am like, I'm there. I'm
We're
like,
good.
we're cool, we're cool anyways, but at least I could just sit and listen and relax into it.
Yeah.
And I much prefer the no. I much prefer knowing than the unknown. Like your partner isn't a fucking mind reader. Again, it does them a disservice. It's like you're wanting them to jump through hoops that they don't even know what hoops they need to jump through that day. Like because, you're not coming at it from a place of the I statements.
That's a really important thing for me. Like, so in human design, and we've talked about a little bit, on the podcast, human design and all of that. And but I'm a manifester in human design.
Yeah.
And literally manifestors, like one of their core wounds is using their voice
Hmm.
and speaking their truth and informing people. And it's really important for manifestors to inform people because the things that we do have an impact on the people around us.
Yeah.
And we shouldn't be asking for permission, but we do need to inform them. And part of that is like really speaking your truth, like really like literally like being so vocal about your truth, right? And but one of the biggest wounds for manifestors is like childhood conditioning, social conditioning that tells us we're too much and we're too loud, we're too vocal, and so then we shut down and we don't use our voice. And
Well,
so what like
and those needs, those unspoken needs build fucking resentment.
and they literally build like physical like
Yeah.
like a lot of manifestors have like trouble with like their throats and stuff like that. And
Throat
um
cancer.
yeah, and so for me that's been really critical where most of my relationships I have not been vocal and people have told me that I am very hard to read, I'm very closed off, I'm not very open. And it always shocks me and surprises me because I feel like I am, but
Yeah.
like people can't feel what's in my head. They can't
Yep.
read my mind.
Right.
And in my mind, I'm that way. But I realize like I'm not I haven't in the past been vocal the way that would be helpful for me to be in relationships
Yeah.
and just in my life in general as a manifester. And part of that is like I've had to work through that and undo that conditioning that tells me that I shouldn't use my voice. Because when I use my voice, it's a very powerful thing. Like I know this about myself, and it's powerful in so like every area of my life, but I haven't really gotten yet to like see how that plays out, like using my voice fully in the relationship sphere because I haven't been in a relationship in, 3 years. And I mean, I haven't dated in 2 years. And so I'm curious what that will look like now that I feel like I'm very empowered and very good at using my voice and speaking my truth, like how that will show up when I am
I mean,
dating.
I mean, yeah, I really, and I'm just going back to my friend for a second because I just was like, look, the more you can start speaking from your place, the less likely all this like, back and forth. I mean, long distance is one thing, but and with long distance, you even have to speak your truth even more
Right.
so because I was like, you don't want to spend an hour, like maybe you have an hour date or a virtual date conversation. You don't want to spend that talking about everything else. Like, you just want to get to the truth of it and then move through it. And, it's just one of those things. I think, for me, it was like, I, I just felt like if I spoke my truth, one, I was going to hurt the other person.
Mm-hmm.
And two, I didn't know how to, at the time, like, the last 3 years, I've been really working on this, but truthfully, it's really been this last like 11 months, 12 months. And it's just amazing when I say the thing, how people respond so much better. And
Yeah.
I don't have any expectation of how someone's going to respond because I think that takes away the moment for yourself. Like if you're overthinking their response or if you're trying to control or manipulate the response, then it's also not coming out authentically. Like you just, when you speak from your heart, people actually understand that that really is from your heart because you're not pointing fingers. You're not telling anybody that they suck. You're just literally like saying the things. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like,
I have such a cute example of this.
yeah,
So my daughter,
yeah,
9 years old, has a best friend that's a boy that they're just really close friends and they like each other and like they have little crushes on each other, I think, and it's
cute.
really cute. Um, but they were texting on my phone the other day, like his dad's phone, my phone. They're texting each other, and they got into an argument and a fight. And it happened. I was looking at their text messages and I was like, oh, like he said something. She misunderstood the tone of it. She got upset and then said a mean thing to him. And then it just kind of like went from there. And I had
Yeah.
to like take her off the phone and like make her take some regulation time. And I was like, you guys can talk about it at school tomorrow. So the next day came after school. I asked her, I was like, hey, did you guys talk? Did you work it out? And she was like, no, we didn't talk to each other. We're mad at each other right now. We're not talking. And I was like, okay, you got it. You're going to have to figure this out. And so then the next day, again, they were still mad at each other. And when she and I lay down for bed that night, she was like, Mom, I honestly don't remember why I'm mad at him. And I really want to make up with him, but I can't remember why I'm mad at him in the first place. And I don't want to tell him that I can't remember because then I feel like he'll be upset and it'll be embarrassing and he's going to laugh at me and it feels really icky. She's like, so we're still just mad at each other and we haven't made up. And I told her, I said, sweetheart, if he's as good of a friend to you as I think he is, you telling him, hey, I haven't been talking to you because I forgot why I was mad and I'm embarrassed about that.
Aw.
I think that he's probably going to be like, it's okay, dude, and like laugh with you about it. So just be yourself and like share your heart and like share your truth, like speak the truth, because I think at the end of the day, your friend is going to appreciate that so much more than continuing this like not talking to each other thing. So the
Yeah.
next day at school, she went to him and told him exactly what I told her to say. And he did exactly what I said he was going to do. He was like, oh, that's so funny. Like, not a big deal. They laughed about it together and they're fine.
Aw, that's
So,
so
like, a
cute.
little long winded there, but like, I think that's such an important thing to teach our kids, like with their relationships, to like show up fully and just be you. And even if you're worried that someone's going to like, like be mean to you or shame you or laugh at you, like if they do, that tells you about who that person is.
Well, and that's what I told my friend. I'm like, look, if you get broken up with just your truth, then that is not your person. Like, that is not
Mhm.
someone like whoever is you want to be in a relationship with is going to not think you're too much or
Yeah.
needy or any of those things that come off so critical, right? Of
Yes.
who she is or who we are or whatever that is. So I hope, I mean, I just hope she connects the dots for herself. I just was like, the only reason why I'm being hard on you today around the truth and saying the truth is because I just don't want you to suffer around this anymore. This is literally
Yeah.
the lesson you're supposed to learn in this relationship. And
Mm,
you want to start all over with somebody new? Like, this person's
mhm.
actually waiting for you to just say the thing.
Yeah.
And then she won't be avoided. And then she won't, be less compassionate or, whatever it is. It's like,
We
everyone,
get in our own way so
you
much
really do.
when we don't just speak the truth, you know?
But it is interesting how this shit happens the minute it's all about like the romantic part ends.
Oh, yeah.
Because
Yeah.
with friendships, I'm like, I said, she's missing out on like some of who you are. And she's like, you're right. Because I said, you're not that way with me. You're not that way with so and so, her other friends. It's like, I just don't, it's like, it's so interesting when the minute romance enters, how much of a brain fuck what happens. Like,
It's the wildest thing. Like the second romance, love, sexuality gets involved, it's like it just like
yeah,
switches something in our brains where we're like, hey, I don't know what to do
I
this.
know it's so fucking dumb. It's literally the dumbest thing. I just,
Yes.
and I think I used to say this a lot. Well, because one of my therapists said, like, we teach people how to treat us.
Yeah.
And I think it's beautiful when you do come and speak from your heart and be vulnerable. Well, then guess what? That person on the other end is going to be like, "Oh, I'm safe to be vulnerable." And the other part of it was like, there's some mistrust there. There's not enough trust built up. And I said, guess what happens with trust? It gets built up through emotional intimacy. And when you're being authentic and when you're walking your truth, it's like that's how intimacy is built. And when you're in a long distance relationship, especially,
Mm-hmm.
it's like you have got to come from that space.
Yeah, 100%. Yep.
It's really fascinating. So I don't know. It's been a really beautiful thing. It's like I love that I'm working on not abandoning myself. I'm
Mm-hmm.
trying also to not create false versions of a connection either.
Oh, yeah, same. That's something I've really had to work through. Really had to work through. And I think it's because I am so intuitive and because I'm so like tapped in spiritually sometimes, like I can literally see potential timelines.
Right.
And it's not just romantically. I see it with friendships, I see it with people, like I can see timelines of things. And so that kind of has tripped me up romantically for a while, where it's like I get in my head about the potential of what I see or like the future of what it could be. And I don't like sit with the present of like what's really here right now
Yeah,
with this
who
person,
they
who
are
they
in front
are
of
like
you.
now. And so that's been one of my big lessons in the past
Yeah.
couple of years of like really having to shift that and just be like, okay, who is this person now? And I'm really glad I'm getting to put that into practice because like even like last night, my ex-boyfriend and I had an hour and a half long conversation after a year of not speaking. And um, it was really, really great because we got to share our truths with each other in a way that we had never done before. And
Yeah,
came out of it like, if he had called me up a year ago and wanted to talk, I would have romanticized it in my head, and I would have immediately been like, "Ooh, like maybe this is us like reconnecting and rekindling," and you know what I mean?
totally.
And putting this like fantasy on it. But the reality of it was like, oh no, like we're just having a good, honest heart to heart conversation. And underneath all of that, we both really feel strongly like we had a good friendship and we want to keep that friendship. It's important to both of us. And so we are just connecting as friends. And that was just so important to like put that into practice for me. It felt
Yeah.
really good and to like speak our truths that way. So it was
That
cool to
is,
have that like practice moment.
yeah, and I like that you got closure around certain topics, right?
Yeah.
But it
Yeah.
wasn't, but you weren't closing the door on the friendship anymore. Like you guys are like, we're going to be in each other's lives. Like we both love,
Yeah.
photography. Like you have a
Absolutely.
lot of things in common.
Yeah, like we totally are gonna be friends and I'm so good with that. And I just love that we were able to meet each other in that space and like
Yeah.
speak our truths that way, you know?
Yeah. On my hike this morning with my friend, she's just got engaged. It's her going to be
Mm.
her second marriage. And I said, so how are things, how are things feeling with you two and all this sort of stuff? And she's like, my nervous system, I've never felt so calm around anybody. And I will tell you that they put in the work on themselves and also put in
Mhm.
the work together daily. They live together, their family, the kids are blended now. And,
Mhm.
everyone is thriving because the two of them communicate, show up in their truth, and are authentic with where they want to be. But I think part of that speaking truth is also being very aware of like, this is what I want in life, and understanding that not everybody is going to meet you in that space. And there's
Mhm.
nothing wrong if someone is more like, God, in 5 years, I want to travel the world. Whereas you want to put roots in the ground. You know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah.
and again, it's just like you can't fake yourself out over that bullshit. So I
Yeah.
think, I think, I think after all of it, it's like at the end of the day, I'm finding that when I speak truth, that it's it's getting less uncomfortable for sure. Like,
Yeah, same here.
it just feels really good to say the
Yeah.
thing. Sometimes I fuck up and I don't say it the way that it was intended in my mind. So
Yeah.
sometimes I also have to practice the pause so that I
Mhm.
can just say, what am I trying to accomplish? What's my intention here? My
Yeah.
intention is really just to tell the person that I'm hurt instead of being like, well, do, and project. That is
Mhm.
obviously bullshit. And
Yeah.
calling myself on that honesty, like, wow, I just started an argument over nothing when I'm just literally feeling hurt. And it's just okay to say, I'm just feeling hurt. Like
Yeah.
that hurt. Ouch. Just say
Mhm.
like whatever you can say to move through it. So speaking your truth is definitely better than not.
Yeah, and I think too an important thing because I know, so for me being neurodivergent, being the parent of neurodivergent kids, like, and whether you're neurodivergent or not, I think there's a difference also too between speaking your truth and being blunt in a way that doesn't consider how someone else might receive it, and
Yeah.
also speaking your truth in a way that you're paying attention to delivery, right? Like we don't want to just like speak, like we want to speak our truth, but we don't want to just like say it in a way that is going to like really harm someone else. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
totally.
let's think about our delivery too. Like, how can we say what
Yeah.
we need to say, especially if it's in a relationship? It's like, if our truth is like, hey, the way that you leave your laundry all over the floor is driving me batshit crazy.
That's
Like,
right.
how can we approach that truth sharing without really like, making the person feel like picked on or called out and get in the defensive? Like, how can we be kind with our truth?
Yeah.
How can we approach it? I think that's really important.
No, I agree. And how would you approach that? What would you say?
About laundry?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm the one who leaves the laundry on the floor, so
All right, so I'm the one that doesn't. So if you and I were in a relationship, I would probably just say, "Hey, I really like I feel better when things are picked up. And whether you're if you're going to spend time here, then feel free to use my laundry basket. And if you want, I'll do a load before you leave. Like if we're in a long distance
Mhm,
relationship
mhm.
or if you're not living together with the person, hey, I can also just wash it and I'll bring it to you in the next day or so."
And see, for me being ADHD, I'd be like, oh yeah, I actually really like the laundry off the floor too. I just sometimes set things down and forget about it because ADHD. So yeah, I'll try to like remember it, but just know that it's not like an intentional thing that I'm being lazy about it. It's I literally just forget and I'm gonna try to come back to it.
Even though you literally walk by it every time.
I mean, I don't leave like massive piles of laundry everywhere. You know what I mean? It's like me taking off my sweatshirt in the bathroom to wash my face and then like side questing and being like, "Oh, I need to go start my car." And then like going to start my car and then going back in the house and doing something completely different and my sweatshirt's still
Yeah,
in the
and you don't
bathroom.
see it. Yeah,
You
you
know
don't
what I
see it
mean?
till
Like
for
it's
8 hours or whatever.
yeah, I have some
Yeah.
like ADHD blindness there. And then I'll be like, then I go to like take a shower in the evening. I'm like, oh shit, I left my sweatshirt in here. Now I need to take the sweatshirt and the towels to the laundry room, and that's where they go.
Yeah,
You know
yeah,
what I mean?
gotcha.
Yeah,
I'm just
yeah.
messing with you, but yeah, that's fun. But I think it's important like to talk about like different scenarios like that.
Yeah.
I think it is. It's like, if you're in a long distance relationship, what is going to be the most annoying thing? It's probably going to be like, I feel disconnected. I feel like I'm really missing you. And sometimes feeling like one person is missing the other more.
Mm.
And how can you say that without getting that person feeling defensive? Like, it's just that my capacity might be needing more, in the day to day, or just like, hey, could you drop me a text, in the morning and later in the day, just letting me know you're thinking about me. That would really make me feel better. But it's not necessarily like a huge dig. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Totally.
I think
Yeah.
it's just little things like that, just getting comfortable with those littler things.
And I think like, as single people, like we're not gonna know what a lot of those little things are until we get into a relationship.
It's so true. I mean, you just don't know what pops up. I mean, that's the whole thing is, we can love ourselves. It's an inside job, yes, blah blah blah. But really, the real healing comes from being in a relationship and how we, what were you gonna say?
I do think that when I end up in a relationship, and if that person and I eventually live together, I, they're gonna have to have such a sense of humor about about my ADHD and my kids' ADHD.
Yeah, that's for
Because
damn sure.
like yesterday, I walked into, or 2 days ago, I walked into my bedroom and I looked over at the windowsill of my bedroom, and there's half of a cucumber sitting on my windowsill with bite marks in it, and I was like, that was Ivy's cucumber she was munching on earlier. I wonder if she forgot that she set it down. And I literally called out to her. I was like, hey, Ivy, do you know where your cucumber is? And she was like, oh, yeah, I was eating a cucumber. Where is it?
That's so cute.
And I've actually started taking little photos of like ADHD things that happen around our house. So I took a picture of the cucumber on the windowsill.
Yeah, that's definitely
And so
random,
it's like
right?
whoever like comes into our life, like me and my kids, like I really hope that they have a sense of humor about that kind of stuff because it's like,
Yeah.
especially with ADHD, it's like some of it is stuff that we really just cannot change about ourselves.
Yeah.
And
I
so,
know, I get it. I totally hear that. It's like
yeah,
so funny.
yeah,
But yeah, I just think being authentic and being truthful and finding your way, but just knowing that try it. Just practice it. Practice it in bite size, bits. Like with work, like, hey, whatever that is, just start practicing at
yeah.
home with even your parent, or parents or your siblings. Just say the things and see how it lands and work on that delivery, work on that part of it. So you're not hurting someone's feelings. You shouldn't be hurting anyone's feelings when you're saying your own feelings. Like that's, I think,
Hmm. Hmm.
I mean, they might get hurt. I mean, it depends on what the conversation really, like if you're breaking up with somebody because of A, B, and C, they might feel hurt, but you can still say it and land with a kindness.
And I think also like developing discernment around sharing your truth is
Mhm.
really important too, because I know like for me right now, I have a scenario in my life I'm not going to go into detail about, but there's a scenario in my life right now where I had the opportunity to share my truth and I could have shared my truth. And at first I wanted to share my truth, but as I continued thinking about it, you and I talked about it.
Yep.
I was like, it would not actually be beneficial for me to share my truth at this point in time in this
Correct.
scenario.
Yep.
And it actually wouldn't bring any kind of good into the scenario at all. So right now,
Mhm.
I am just going to choose to keep my truth to myself until
Yep.
a later time.
Yeah.
And even then, I'm not going to be sharing my full truth in that scenario because it's just not going to be beneficial to anyone.
Yeah. Well, it won't even land. It won't
It
even,
won't even land. Like
yeah.
there won't be a space for it to land.
Right.
So, but I think the big shift for me has been that I don't feel angry about that like I have in the past because I know my truth and I can say my truth and I don't need the other party involved to actually hear my truth for me to feel okay about it.
Well, and after hearing more about your truth in that scenario, it's like it didn't make sense for you to say all the truth in this moment. It wouldn't benefit, it would not benefit your life
Yeah.
at the moment. It wouldn't
Yeah.
make things better. It wouldn't give yourself a sense of like joy from it or closure. Or,
Right.
yeah, so I think it is really important to notice like I can say my truth at a later date and feel good about knowing that I will be truthful enough. And
Yeah, and I think that that discernment piece it's like
it is
a
important.
key to is like okay, am I withholding my truth from a space of feeling afraid
Right.
and self-sabotaging or am I withholding my truth right now because I just recognize that it wouldn't do this scenario, this situation, this person anything great right now. It wouldn't bring joy. It wouldn't bring it's not even necessary. It's not necessary,
Correct.
and
Correct.
I think that's a discerning thing.
Yeah, and I think with a few of my friends with trauma, that have had trauma or they're working through trauma and their response through it is sometimes they can blurt before even
Mm.
thinking about it. And
Yes.
I
Yeah.
think I think for the pause and like you said, like having a little discernment and kind of thinking like, how is this really going to land? Like,
Yeah.
is this gonna hurt somebody's feelings for no reason? Or
Yeah.
is this going to be beneficial? Because I think sometimes truths can come off when it's not, I'm trying to think of the right word. When it's I'm trying. I can't think of like how, well, like what the word around that is. It's more like it almost comes off as like blame.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think too it's important to remember sometimes too that our truth is not always going to be somebody else's truth.
Yeah,
And so we're not responsible for how they feel about our truth.
yeah,
you
true.
know, like at the end of the day, again, that is, how someone responds to our truth is going to tell us a lot about them as a person.
Yeah, and
And
I think when
not
you're
in a mean way, not in a bad way, more of like a alignment with ourselves kind of way.
well, it depends. Like if it's conflict resolution, then there is going to be some harsh truths to that. I mean, it might feel a little painful but it will be only uncomfortable until both people really can say
Yeah.
their truth, like, oh,
Yeah.
and also being able to, if I'm hearing someone's truth, which sometimes is really hard to hear, part of it is like, okay, what do I do with that next? Like, am I
Hmm.
now going to retaliate?
Hmm.
Or am I going to take it as feedback? And I
Hmm.
think it really depends on, are you dating? Are you in a long-term relationship? Is this a work relationship? I think it really depends on who and what that truth is being spoken.
Yeah.
I can say that sometimes, even if it hurts, I might just say, I need to process that. Like, I just need to process that. Or was that your intention? That hurt a lot. Was that your intention of
Mhm.
that? And sometimes they'll be like, no, that landed wrong. And I'll be like, okay, take 5 minutes and reframe it. And I'm open to hearing that.
Well, and that what you're talking about is responding instead of reacting.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah. And
really,
so that goes hand in hand with truth sharing is being able to be someone who responds instead of reacts.
yeah. And sometimes, like I said in the beginning of the podcast, like, does this have anything to do with me? No. Well, then I don't need to respond to anything. So it really depends. Like, if the person is emotionally mature and emotionally connected to their own truth and they're really getting in that, it's like, okay, this is hopefully gonna land the way that I want it to land.
Yeah.
But anyways, yeah, that was good. I enjoyed this.
Yeah. It's a good topic.
It is. There's so many nuances to this topic,
So
but
many.
I think the main thing is to learn how to start speaking your truth because you don't want to abandon yourself.
Hmm.
You don't want emotions to fester.
Hmm.
You might miss out, this is what I was saying, on a lot misaligned opportunities when you might have had a chance to like really connect with somebody on a deeper level. And by not saying it from your heart, you might miss an opportunity. So let's not miss any opportunities, Pod Squad.
Listen, we want the opportunities.
Yeah, we want more opportunities. We like that.
Yeah.
Love you, friend.
Love you too.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
If you enjoyed this episode today, be sure to subscribe and share because what do we say, baby?
Sharing is caring.